I'm kind of getting ticked off at the WWE, specifically at the crew on Raw, because they're trying to make Raw good enough that you actually have to watch much of it, which I'm not used to, and I don't have these are demands on my time that I cannot meet now. But God damn it, they're taking a swing at it, aren't they? Even for 3 hours, they're putting some shit on there that you more than one thing that you need to kind of pay attention to. What did you think?
And this is pissing you off, you said. I guess
Yes.
Well, let's talk about Raw now. This was Raw for...
Well, that's the first thing that happened since I talked to you last.
That was Raw for the 12th, I believe. The 12th of
Yes,
August.
the 12th of never.
You know, they've been doing better shows. There are still moments and segments that I know I could leave the room and wait like 6 minutes, 7 minutes or so before I come back.
Maybe even the house. Leave the house.
Maybe even leave the house. But this specific Raw that we're talking about, this week's Raw, I thought had one of the best openings in a while, and I loved it. I was like a mark for this entire segment, and I really liked it.
Well, they had hooked me even before that started because they were in Austin, Texas, sold out whatever the building is down there, 13,000 people in Austin, Texas. Now, this is getting ridiculous because, and me, Mr. Territory Days, rah, rah, right? I worked Austin, Texas for World Class Wrestling, the Von Erichs in 1985. It was a shit building. I think we had about 800 people. But I don't remember hearing, has this happened before that they have drawn 13,000 people in Austin, Texas? Anyway, so apparently there's nothing wrong with their audio setup. People are hearing them just fine. And the first segment was Rhea Ripley. She comes out, and did you notice, instead of just going to smiling Miss Babyface, oh, you love me, you really love me, like she turned into Sally Field all of a sudden, she still comes out with the attitude, and she's kind of doing some half-hearted handshakes and like, yeah, I'm hot shit and I know it. It fits her, right? It wouldn't, if she just came out like Molly fucking Holly in her cheerful days, it would have not fit. Do you agree with that? Did you notice this little change up she did?
I mean, I've noticed it. I don't think she could be too Molly Holly, as you put it, but that's the extreme example. But she still has to, I think when she shows vulnerability, people may like her if they already like her, but it won't make anyone new like her. But when she's strong, that's really where the money is.
Well, and we'll get there in a minute, because actually it might make some of the people who like her not like her if they didn't recognize it. But I think it was obviously glaring enough, but we'll get there. Because anyway, she looks like a star. She comes out, she's talking about SummerSlam. She starts going into well, I've felt everything, embarrassed, heartbreak, teetering there. But right now the feeling is pissed the hell off. And that's what people want to hear. And Dominic, you stabbed me in the back, but like you may have heard many times before, it just wasn't deep enough. And yeah, that's what you want to hear.
That's a new era WWE line right there. That's a we're going to Netflix line.
Well, but said there were all words in the fucking Merriam-Webster dictionary there. There was no profanity. There was no curse words. It was a double entendre only for those of you with a dirty mind.
Why was she with this guy so long if he wasn't giving her anything good?
Well, because apparently it was the other way around. She'd stabbed him deep enough on a number of occasions, I'm sure, but nevertheless. And then she says, Liv can't run forever because I'm Rhea Bloody Ripley. And then she growls, and I'm going to remind you who the hell I am. That's Rhea Bloody Ripley, right? Boom, it's over. The people are yes. And then here come Liv and, well, they don't hear they come, but Liv and Dominic are in the skybox area. I don't know if they had but they're just standing up in the fucking cheap seats. And the crowd boos the shit out of them, and they won't let Dominic speak to the point where even when Rhea said, no, let's Let's hear what this little weasel has to say for himself or whatever. They still wouldn't. They're fuck you, Dominic, right? We're going to do this. And Dominic's thing is, I deserve to be treated like a man, and you tried to change me and boss me around. And I called you mommy, but now I got a girl that calls me daddy. And again, this is like kind of, risque Saved by the Bell shit, but it's working here. And I still don't want to see Liv Morgan wrestle, but as a weaselly, bitchy, it helps if she's fake, because she's a fake bitch here, right? She's stabbing Rhea in the back and taking her high school fucking crush, blah, blah, blah. It's juvenile, but it's working. I just don't want to see her wrestle.
I mean, it's people in their 20s doing it. I wouldn't say it's Saved by the Bell. Did you ever watch Saved by the Bell? Nothing happened on that show.
Well, I'm reaching at least that recently for some.
Yeah. They sang Friends Forever. They sang Friends Forever.
Children-oriented show. How about fucking Welcome Back, Kotter fucking shit? I don't know. I haven't watched childish shows since I was a child, and then I put away childish things.
Hey, up your nose with a rubber hose.
Well, in your face with a fucking mace. How about that? Can of mace.
All right.
See, I couldn't even remember what the goddamn... Welcome Back, Kotter is a show that doesn't get enough reruns these days.
Do you think it's a good show? You like it?
I watched it at the time, but there was only 2 other options, so...
What'd you think of John Travolta?
Said for that.
What'd you think when John Travolta broke out as a star, not just The Boy in the Bubble, but of course Saturday Night Fever?
Well, when I saw The Boy in the Bubble, I knew he was destined for greatness. But Saturday Night Fever, it was a shock at the time to know that John Travolta could fucking dance. Obviously, people have forgotten about that because he never danced out.
Yeah, it's before people knew he was gay.
Well, long and before they knew he was bald.
Yeah, well, he wasn't bald yet.
Well, how do we know? We weren't looking.
No, you could tell that's his hair back then.
Well, anybody that's going to start fucking having fake shit sewed on the top of their head at some point in their life, you got to start suspecting them early.
It's the same hairdo Ellen Travolta had. I think it's really his hair.
I thought you meant Ellen DeGeneres.
Ellen DeGeneres, no.
When you said Ellen, who is that? Is that his mother?
That was his sister.
His sister?
His sister. She was Chachi's mom on Happy Days.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I think that's her.
I never paid any attention. I think by the time Chachi came around, I was already traveling on whatever night Happy Days was on.
Yeah, that's right. She was Chachi's mom, Ellen Travolta. Englewood, New Jersey.
Well, how did she end up with 2 diverse children as Chachi and John Travolta?
No, it was her brother.
Were they different fathers?
Well, no, it wasn't her. It wasn't her son. John Travolta was her brother, not her son.
Oh. Well, so then that means that John Travolta is Chachi's uncle?
No, that's Fonzie.
Well, no, now, because they never said that Fonzie had a brother or a sister, did they?
He was Fonzie's nephew, wasn't he?
Well, but Fonzie couldn't have a nephew unless he had a brother or a sister.
But they said he was, well, I guess his mom would have been, is that Fonzie's sister? I haven't watched Happy Days in a long time.
Ellen Travolta?
Ellen Travolta. Was she Ellen Fonzie? Fonzarelli?
I don't know. Was she fucking Henry Winkler?
You have a weird way of thinking how families get. You've taken this in weird roads several times, but back to Liv and Dominic.
Well, anyway, that's when. Here's what happened to poor old Rhea Ripley. She fell victim to some of the soap opera writers that they employ, trying to earn their money by giving her the story that they think that a woman would tell her ex in some kind of situation. I don't know what the fuck. But she actually started saying, but Dominic, the bad thing, I'm proud of you and everything you've accomplished. One of my greatest pride, see the accent too, is watching you become the man you've become over the past few years.
See the accent too.
You won gold. But I kind of wanted you to beat your dad on your own. This was not Rhea Bloody Ripley. This was bloody awful. It was shit she never should have said. The people didn't like it. Not only was it rotten, I think she knew that it was rotten, and she kind of stammered on it. And after the shit that they have said to her, they being Dominic and Liv, she lost the people when she started putting his little goddamn limp-dicked ass over. That's not what they wanted to hear. And by the time she got finished, they were whatting her. And they would have been whatting her worse if she hadn't kind of crossed them up a little bit with not stopping a couple times where they thought she was going to stop and they couldn't get the rhythm. But then at the end of it, she kind of got it back with, it's the last decision you're ever going to make, because then that sounded like Rhea Ripley again. But in the meantime, would they give this? People don't want to see this fucking sensitive side, or they don't want her to try to put Dominic over. And they want her to fucking come out and say, you fucking bitch, I'm gonna fucking rip you from asshole to appetite here when I get a hold of you, and you fucking motherfucker, when I was the reason why that you were where you were in this fucking industry, in this kind of WWE universe, because you were hanging off of me, and I should have realized, and that's the only mistake I made, is not realizing, you little fucking weasel, I will kick your dick up between your tonsils. That's what they want to hear from Rhea, isn't it?
I think they would like to see her chase after Liv and Dom, getting her hands on them every now and then, and she wants to hear Liv, I'm going to kick your ass, and when I'm done with you, Dominic, I'm going to kick your ass too.
But that's, so anyway, when she got sensitive, the people actually started just blowing it off and whatting her, but then Liv replied, and then Rhea bowed up at Liv and started growling again and got him back a little bit. And then they did the spot, which, again, the first part of this fucking segment was excellent until that minute and a half where Rhea decided to write a fucking Ann Landers letter. And then she kind of got him back, and Liv kind of got him back, and then Rhea bows up, and here we go. And then where Dominic and Liv are standing in the bleachers, Priest comes, you see the camera shot, Priest comes right up behind them and stands over their shoulders, and then they suddenly do the, oh shit, and slowly I turned, and boom! Huge fucking pop. Priest takes Dominic out into the concession area, fucking rattling shit around, bopping him off of everything. Rhea is chasing Liv. Liv is bailing out. Priest beats Dominic, and it wasn't this fucking walk fighting bullshit. Oh, let's go down the stairs now. He beat him down the stairs and into ringside and into the ring, and Carlito then stops Priest, and Priest shit cans Carlito, and they go to the break with this thing still erupting. That was way to fucking end a segment. And the best part, again, like you mentioned, because they're setting up this match we're going to come back from the break with, but Rhea chasing, and there goes Liv out the back door, and Rhea's in hot pursuit. Every time they can tease Rhea getting her hands on Liv and coming close or doing it enough to keep it fresh, the people are going to go batshit. I don't want to see the match. I just want to see her chase her and eventually, catch her at some point, just beat her up.
I also like that I'm really a big fan of Liv Morgan in this role. I think she's been great, and her and Dominic together is fantastic. I love it. And I thought they were great here, other than the Rhea part, and I agree. I've not been a fan in any of these segments for the last few months of any of the commiserating Rhea Ripley. So I don't like that. But when Priest popped up, that was the coolest thing Priest has done in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And it worked perfectly, and the people reacted, and Liv and Dominic reacted. And we've seen a lot of these brawls out in the concession area in the arena like this in AEW to the point where it means nothing. This one felt like in the moment. It was hot and happening, and it was great. And
there was more urgency, and it didn't go on for 5 and 10 fucking minutes.
Right. and Rhea coming up the stairs at them, pointing out one of the things I like about Liv Morgan, she's almost like Jimmy Hart in Memphis. Like, she'll talk shit, and she knows that she has to run from Rhea, but she also will dive in and jump on Priest's back. She'll jump in the ring and throw kicks at a downed opponent. I like that. I think she's so good in this role. Well, and this is the best open to Raw in a while.
Her voice helps also because it's just that shrieking. And that's the way they set it up when the last thing I think Rhea said was, well, thanks to your obnoxious voice, at least we could figure out exactly where you were. And Priest had been, like, you couldn't actually just fucking find him by eyeballing it anyway, but it was a nice touch when right then Priest comes through the fucking curtain behind him. And they go,
and I like Priest and Rhea still having that connection, even though Judgment Day is broken up. They're still, what do they call them? The Terror Twins or something?
Yes, the Terror Twins.
It works.
So
I like
which one gets to be the Keith Richards part of the Toxic Twins? But and then they had set up Priest and Carlito when we came back from the break, and obviously it was a wonderful contest. But finally, Priest won with a choke slam. Boom, 1, 2, 3. And then here comes the Judgment Day and they do the gnat on the elephant thing. Priest just knocks JD out, and Finn and Dom fucking, hit and get on him. And Liv is cheering him on. And then Rhea's music plays. And here she comes, and she kicks Carlito in the fucking balls. And Carlito, at least they found a spot for him. He's an entertaining flunky fella. And then she distracts Finn, and Priest is about to grab him, and JD comes in and eats a super kick, and Finn bails, and Priest choke slams. And also JD is now the human crash test dummy. Boom, and
Did you see that choke slam? You see how
I was about to say he needed to clear customs when he came back down. And so that's, he's an entertaining, what'd you say about somebody else at one point? He's an entertaining stooge. Nick Jackson, the one you said that about one time. He would be an entertaining stooge.
Yeah, actually, this is kind of the kind of role that I think Nick Jackson would excel in, being like a J.D. McDonough kind of character in a group.
Except he doesn't look nearly as physically acceptable and cosmetically pleasing as JD does, except for JD's giant peach basket head. But
the douchiness adds to the ability to get heat, especially when, like a Liv Morgan, he's jumping in and throwing kicks or something, and then he gets to take the big bumps when he gets his ass kicked. As opposed to him doing the spots to hurt opponents that he shouldn't be able to beat, let him take those same twists and turns as bumps.
Yes, and you've just got two opposites there with JD and Nick, because JD's the one with the bulbous cranium, and Nick is the one where you could cut his hair with a pencil sharpener. You got the little teeny tiny head.
JD has a big head. Nick Jackson has an empty head.
There you have it.
There you have it.
And JD's got room to put more stuff in, whereas you
take it too far, and then you just don't let it go.
Well, I'm just saying, JD's got room for more stuff. He can learn a bunch more, whereas the other guy, he's still empty after all this point. It might not even well try, but nevertheless. So then Rhea and Priest, boy, we've taken some side roads on this description. Rhea and Priest are hugging each other when here comes old Dominic. He's gonna fucking blister Priest off the top rope, but Priest reaches out and catches him in the goozle for the choke slam over Rhea's back, and then lets go of the hug. And he tosses Dominic to Rhea, who hooks him up to give him the riptide. But then Liv grabs Dom and pulls him out by the leg and saves him. And this was all great shit. This is like 35, 40 minutes into the fucking show or whatever, with the exception, and Priest and Carlito wasn't bad if you had time to watch it. But again, this is a wrestling show. What the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, Priest and Carlito is an extension of that opening segment. How long do you think they should wait before Rhea gets her hands on Dominic?
Well, but what is the description? Gets her hands on?
Gives him a bump that gets a big pop. Does something to him that causes everyone to jump up because she finally got her hands on him.
Wait, Vin is Berlin. Vin is Berlin.
Oh, forgive me. I didn't realize you are such a master of these accents. I didn't exactly
Yes.
understand.
Vin is Berlin. I think
Berlin is coming up. I'm not sure.
She might can get her hands on him. She might can fucking trip him up. She might can fucking lay hands but be foiled before damage is done, that type of thing. But I think the match is where she's got to get her hands on him and give him some significant type of bump or physical treatment at some point.
If we really didn't get it with Otis and Gable, do we get that moment?
No, they didn't get it with Otis and Gable.
But do we get that moment where Rhea just gets her hands on Dominic and looks at the crowd and they go crazy and she finally just hits him with a punch and he gets to jump out of the ring?
Well, no, I mean, I believe they're going to do the mixed tag in Berlin. I would think they're leading to this, are they not? Is there confirmation on this, or am I just supposing that they would have that match at the next big show? Are you anxiously Googling, trying to find out?
Well, it came up right away. Bash in Berlin, which came up when I Googled Bash at Berlin. Bash in Berlin. Oh, yeah. 3 matches announced so far. Gunther, Randy Orton, Cody Owens, and Terror Twins versus Judgment Day.
Well, yeah, so, I mean, body slams, suplexes, drop kicks, big boot in the mush, stuff like that. I would believe that, Dominic has more than enough heat that she can be doing that type of thing to him. I don't think she'll send him out strapped to a backboard in the first confrontation.
Hey, I got a question for you. Rhea and Priest.
Live and let live.
Live and let live. Rhea and Priest.
That ought to be your fucking finish, is to oblivion. Yeah, because you can't tell who's giving the bump and who's taking it.
Listen, what I'm trying to say here is the Terror Twins, Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, have been associated together on the main roster for a long time as Judgment Day. Now, suddenly, their opponents are Judgment Day. At what point do Rhea and Priest not get Judgment Day royalties?
Well, more importantly, at what point do Priest and Rhea not copyright or trademark Judgment Day? Priest was involved in the original part, right?
It was Edge, Rhea, and Priest.
Okay, and Rhea was involved. So, at what point did they not think, well, we ought to trademark this if we're going to let all these other jacklegs in? It's their fault. Then they could be Judgment Day. And JD and Finn could be the Terror Twins.
It'd be a great way to get Clarence Mason back on the show. You could say that Finn Balor consulted him behind everyone's back and got the rights.
There you go. Another storyline just pops up. Did you hear me as I'm snapping my fingers into the microphone?
I didn't hear that, so I thought you were being sarcastic.
I'm continuing to do it. Just snapping away. See, you're goddamn. Speaking of oblivion.
This seems like a conspiracy. Maybe I should get Ventura on the line.
So, anyway, the point is, yes, I think that Rhea Ripley can bounce Dominic around a couple of times to the satisfaction of the crowd there in Berlin and around the world, coast to coast and continent to continent via satellite. But it's not going to blow the whole thing off. They'll probably do something hot to continue it, one would imagine.
See, that's the thing. I mean, to go into the match, I was thinking more just a moment where they finally somehow bump into each other in the ring and the fans are ready for it and she just hits them, as opposed to whatever cute spot they come up with for the match.
Well, I'm not talking about doing something cute. But at the same point, they may want to milk her actually just punching him right in the mush. Because what if fucking Priest gave fucking Dominic the big boot in the mush and he turned around and there was Rhea and Rhea picked him up and gave him a big fucking scoop slam in the middle of the ring. The place would come unglued. Just a spot like that. Simple things that could happen in the course of this match. Because the women and the men are not supposed to fucking cohabitate or co-fornicate in the mixed tag team. It's supposed to be man versus man and woman versus woman in the WWE. So you got to get creative as to how people are in the right place to defy that rule, don't you?
How much heat does it get if Dominic body slams Rhea?
Well, again, that's something that I think it would get a ton of heat, and I bet you they won't let it happen because of man on woman violence. But my rule since that became a thing on television was you don't want to see a man punch a woman or kick a woman or hit a woman with some type of blunt instrument. But if a babyface man gives a heel woman a scoop slam, how many scoop slams are reported in domestic violence cases around the United States of America on an annual basis? Right? It doesn't kind of take it out of the realm of, oh my God, and more, and okay, it's wrestling. She deserved it, right?
But if that's your argument, why not just pile driver? How many pile drivers appear on criminal records?
Well, but then also you're shitting the bed as far as the business too, because if a man pile drives a woman, it ought to fucking paralyze her, and you'd read about it in the newspaper.
Well, that was the opening segment of Raw, and many other thoughts as well.
Yes.
What else was on Raw, Jim?
Well, I'll tell you what, Odyssey Jones. I would sing a little song, but I'm afraid the microphone wouldn't pick it up. But Odyssey Jones, I got the Jones for Odyssey Jones. Remember we said, or at least I did, I don't know about you, Brian, that Odyssey Jones was gonna be a great addition to the roster when we saw him in NXT about 3 years ago. And then we haven't seen him since. And we talked on the last program about where the fuck has this guy been? And I think you looked up that he'd had a match in Ocala, Florida, in Dory Funk Jr.'s backyard or something 9 months ago, and nobody'd seen him, but now he's here. So we don't know why it took so long. We never discovered why they've just hidden him.
It turns out he was on an Odyssey.
He was on an Odyssey. Well, they're doing the deal, first of all, where Kofi loves him in the New Day. I was hoping we'd just get Odyssey Jones without having the New Day, but Kofi loves him, but Woods is not on board with his friendship or involvement or whatever in their group of the Bootios and the trombones and the trumpets and the skin flutes and whatever else they're fucking tooting over there. And so now Odyssey Jones had a singles match with Vincent Whiny. The fuck? They make up all these goddamn names for all these people in NXT. They don't even sound like they come from the planet Earth, but they let this guy go on national television named Vincent Whiny.
Is that the first person named Vince on a WWE television show since Vince McMahon?
Probably.
Like, when was the last character or wrestler named Vince or Vincent other than him?
And do you think they're trying to send out the message that Vince is whiny?
Maybe. We'll find out next week if it's Vince Leaky in the match.
Ooh, and then Vince Poopy.
Vince Shitty.
Vince, yeah, and then about 6 months from now, it's Vince Fuck You. Anyway, I thought the other night, I said, that's probably the biggest help that Tony Khan could ever hope for right now. The biggest boon to his business and his company, and just the best thing could ever happen in his life, is that Vince McMahon could somehow clear his name and come back to take over the creative in the WWE again. That's the only thing I can think of that might help fucking Tony Khan right now, because this show has changed. They ain't all the way there. There's 3 hours, but Odyssey Jones, anyway, basic big man match, and it worked. He can move. He hit the modified Bubba Slam / Abyss Black Hole Slam. 1, 2, 3. This guy can get over. And I mentioned it with 3 years ago when we saw him, and then they hit him. And that's the only reason I'm hopeful, but I'm hesitant because, What took so long? I'm just wondering, is there something the matter, something going on, or are they hiding something? But nevertheless, he's a big fucking guy that can move around, but he's not ridiculous like a gymnast, but he moves his 400 pounds around. He's got a big smile. He's a happy guy. Kids like Mark Henry's biography said he liked big, happy fucking guys. And he's got personality. So this guy can get over with people depending on whatever they do with him. But then here came the music, and out comes what is their group name? The Last Testament or the Last Will and Testament?
The final Testament.
God damn, it'll never end though. Probate. Carrying Cross Probate Company with
Carrying Cross and Probate.
And there's the authors of Pain and Scarlett O'Hara and what are you?
Scarlett O'Hara, really?
Scarlett Pimpernel. What's her name?
And Rhett Butler.
Rhett Butler is over there. And speaking of Rhett Butler, he was born 3 years after Paul Ellering. Who's there? Well, I love you, Paul. I'm sorry.
He's well preserved from the Iditarod. It froze him.
Oh, yes. He's no wonder Paul never ages. His face froze instead of his eyeball at the Iditarod. He's 112 years old.
Can I tell you what a mark I am? There was a moment here I thought they were actually going to give him the mic and let him talk.
And Cross was talking, and I wasn't caring. And Cross is telling him that Kofi is trying to replace Woods with Odyssey Jones and blah, blah, blah. So they're trying to foment some type of dissension there in the New Day so that perhaps that we can get a New Day. But unfortunately, Odyssey, now are they going to make him play the fucking trombone now and eat cereal and fart unicorn colors? I don't know what they do.
You said you weren't caring about this. That could be a great name when he turns babyface, Karen Cross. But I think, if there's any promise to come out of this, I've never been a New Day fan, and I've found them insufferable on this show. But the idea of maybe seeing Xavier Woods as a heel, you know what? That's fresh. I'm interested to see where they would go with that. And if it changes things up so it's not just a New Day, as it's been for like 10 years, all over the show, I think that's for the good of everyone. The New Day aren't pushed as much as they used to be. They're kind of in that in-between main event segments kind of place right now. You get Odyssey over with Kofi. Xavier gets to do something different and fresh. This is the best stuff with the New Day I've seen in a while because of that.
It looks like Xavier needs to find him some backup, doesn't he? Okay, there's a 400-pound fucking guy on the other side, plus his ex-tag team partner, Kofi. Who the fuck is Xavier's big brother going to be?
And Big E probably isn't coming back, right?
Well, see, that was they teased that in the boring promo where some people may think Odyssey's trying to replace, or Kofi's trying to replace Big E with Odyssey. But he's actually trying to replace you, Xavier. Oh, his fucking name, Jesus Christ. Anyway, I want to see more of this guy. I think he can get over. And he's a fresh, big guy that doesn't look like the same fucking guys that you see a lot in the business these days. And this is the way you get him over. The first time you see him on television, he's not wrestling some fucking guy that he's going to have to give his finish to 3 times over 15 minutes to fucking beat him. So and it gets boring. The show was moving here. They were almost, and Drew is in Adam Pearce's office, and we're just now almost to the 9 o'clock hour. So the first hour of this show was cooking. And Drew again is incredible on the mic, and he and Pierce are playing off of each other fantastic. And Punk had travel issues, and he wasn't there, but Drew didn't care because he's complaining about Orton getting a title shot and because he's been screwed and blah, blah, blah. And finally, Pierce tells him off, and Drew promises he's going to be on his best behavior. And now we've just got to 9 o'clock. So it's like they're trying. They're trying.
That was a good first hour.
But sometimes the cake doesn't quite rise. No, at 9 o'clock, we got the Creeds against Otis and Tozawa. And that was where I was like, you got to be kidding me. Because still, even if there is some interest in Otis and his, babyface turn and all this stuff, and they're trying to get the Creed some heat, they need to put them in a more palatable position. Because when you turn the television on, or if you were flipping around at 9 o'clock, you're already watching TV, you're looking for something else, and you see Tozawa in the ring, and the Creeds are greener than the pepper tree. But basically, Ivy Nile came out and beat up Model Girl, who, she is so skinny, she doesn't look like a real human being. Have you noticed that?
Well, I don't know if I wouldn't put it that way, necessarily.
No, it doesn't look like there'd be enough room inside of her for all the organs and things that you need to function. I mean, what do they do? Do they give some people smaller sets of these things?
It's an interesting gimmick. You could punch me in the gut all you want. I have no organs.
Yeah, you've got an organ, so I couldn't punch you. But she has no organs, Jerry. There are no organs. There's no room. How big is the average uterus?
I have no idea. What kind of question is that?
I don't see how you could put two kidneys side by side, and that's the way they're supposed to go, right? She's not thick enough.
I'm not going to get into this evaluation of her internal organs.
Do you really believe
based on her appearance on Raw?
Now look at Google how many feet of intestine a normal human being has, and tell me that you could put the equivalent amount of garden hose in her stomach.
Okay, well, again, garden hose is a different thing. The average combined length of small and large intestines is at least 15 feet in length. The small intestine can measure 9 to 16 feet, while the large intestine is roughly 5 feet long.
Well, do you think there's room for that inside of her? Come on now. She's so tiny, she uses a Cheerio for a hula hoop.
So I'm guessing you think Ivy Nile has a leg up in this feud.
She's got it more than that up. I'll tell you what, some of her shit is perking standing right up. And
what again, this is one of those Raw segments we talked about earlier where I knew there was like 7 minutes I could just leave the room. So I didn't see any of this. I'm sure if I did, none of this would be in my review.
Well, it was just an observation I made. Did you see the video physics breakdown of Bronson Reed's splash?
I did, and this was something they did that was really good.
This was cool as shit. Ladies and gentlemen, as the children say, go out of your way to see this. Certainly they put this up on the YouTube or something. But they did a video breakdown with the physics of the thing of Bronson Reed's splash off the top rope. And they gave the statistics. He's 6 feet tall. He's 350 pounds. His splash comes from 9 feet in the air at a 45-degree angle. And they got the telestrator and all the stuff going on. And they're zeroing in like it's it's just great shit. And he comes down apparently with 1,715 pounds of force, Brian, with the law of gravity, which was invented by Isaac Newton after he ate his grandmother's apple pie, and times the space-time continuum relay down to Earth, they calculated it at 1,715 pounds. And he did it 6 times. So that was a total of 10,000 pounds of impact on poor old Seth Franklin Rollins.
And his internal organs.
And his internal, which he has some room for, because he's not as slightly built as Model Girl.
All right.
You can put both his kidneys side by side, still side by side.
Side.
Yes, you could put both his kidneys side by side and still have room for dinner at Denny's.
Denny's.
Yeah, that's where America eats.
Not breakfast, but dinner.
If you can find one open these days, you know, all the Denny's in Louisville are pretty much fucking gone. They've taken them all out.
They've taken them all out.
Well, they've all gone out of business. Or somebody in the middle of the night came in, just stole everything, took them all out, sign and everything.
Left them in a bathtub with ice, said, call a doctor.
Yeah. So anyway, should we move on with Raw?
Oh, yeah.
Because here, another thing, Randy Orton. There was a lot of girls talking and wrestling after what we just talked about, but then Randy Orton, he's fucking over. And they show the VTR, the videotape replay for the kids out there of Gunther pinning Orton at the King of the Ring tournament. But Orton's shoulder was up because he rolled him up so tight. He couldn't keep his shoulder down, and they worked it in where Triple H said, well, there'll be a rematch. It worked. It was legitimately a bad referee call based on a fucking thing that happened, and now they're making it the bone of contention in the fucking rematch. And the people are chanting Randy. And they're fucking, again, he's another star. And all he has to do is say, 20 years ago, I won the world title for the first time. And in Berlin, I'll win it for the 15th time. That's all he had to say. Boom, and Gunther music. And as he comes to the ring, and it's going to be obviously his hometown, but at the same time, he's got heat in this environment here. And they just drop in the statistics, 75% of the time he's been in the WWE, he's been a champion. And that includes NXT, right? Because he was NXT champion for some time. And Orton, again, now I think the best part about Orton's promos is he's reached the point where he knows that as long as he's telling the story, he can use a lot of what he's given or fed or is written for him or whatever. But as long as he's getting to where they want him to go, he can do it his way. And he's more relaxed and he's conversational and he's got a great delivery. And they went back and forth, and Orton does a great job of rousing up the fans and did babyface bragging where he was putting himself, and he was responding to the way that Gunther had torn him down by putting himself and his kids and his wife and his life and everything over. And he got the fans chant, "You deserve it." See, I'm clapping now.
I didn't hear that.
But you can't hear it because of the goddamn screwy audio. And if you're listening to this clip as a standalone, folks, listen to the whole goddamn podcast, you know what we're talking about.
Babyface bragging. Like, I drank 8 gallons of milk. I walked 5 ladies across the street.
Well, no, there's a way that babyfaces can put themselves over and talk about their accomplishments and more or less brag on themselves as long as they are doing it the proper way and the proper verbiage and responding to a heel that has maligned those self-same items aforementioned. And anyway, then boom, boom, boom. Gunther says, you know what? You always screw it up, and your grandfather was a screw up, and Bob Orton Sr. was not a screw up. Bob Orton Jr. maybe, but anyway, your grandfather was a screw up, your father was a screw up, and you're the biggest screw up of all. And they're going face to face, and they're about ready to go, Gunther and Orton. And here comes Drew's music. And another fucking star to be heard from. And as soon as the people see him, they start chanting CM Punk. And as Gunther turns toward Drew McIntyre, which that was the only thing, I wish he'd have done it a little less abruptly because it was just like, oh shit, I guess I should turn now, and rather than wait, what's happening back and forth a little. But nevertheless, he turns and Orton spins him back around, gives him the RKO out of nowhere to the big pop. And then he picks up the world title belt, Orton does, but now Drew's about to get in the ring, and Punk jumps him. And now it's a huge pop because Punk is here. And he's wailing on goddamn Drew, and then Drew headbutts Punk. And did you see? While this is going on, Orton just was in the ring and just said, "Ah, fuck it," got out of the ring on the far side. And you never see him again. And Gunther was already gone. You didn't see him again. Remember when baby faces and heels would show some solidarity? If one was being fucked with, hey, Rube, and here comes the rest of them. It wouldn't just leave you hanging out to dry. You remember that, Brian?
I do.
Well, they don't do it anymore. But anyway, and one more thing, and then Drew takes off his belt like, I'll show you, and fucking Punk takes it away and whips the shit out of Drew McIntyre. And McIntyre runs off. And then, of course, they go to the break hot, and the people are screaming and everything. And when they come back, the punctuation on the sentence, the girl, one of the girl interviewers, can't remember her name, is in the back saying that Punk had lied about the travel issues to get his hands on Drew. And Punk does a babyface promo, and he's got the belt, and he says, I think I just figured out a way to make everybody happy. So the belt will figure into whatever the goddamn first match of theirs is with no special referee.
I figured out a way to make everybody happy. Hey, everybody, we're all going to get laid.
Yeah. But again, this was fucking, again, Gunther and Orton and then Drew and then Punk is just star, angle, setting a match. And the people are going crazy. And there's 13,000 of them in Austin, Texas. What'd you think of the whole deal?
I thought it was good. I didn't expect Drew to come out there, so it caused me to pay a little extra attention when he did. And then the thing with him and Punk, again, you never get sick of him and Punk not even wrestling, just promoting each other or attacking each other. Good stuff here.
And the reason, with Drew, he wants to be the world champion. And again, that's why Punk screwed him out of his chance. It should be him instead of Orton fighting Gunther. He's not aligning himself with anybody, babyface or heel, because he's just pissed off. And that's why he's the only one. You know whose side everybody else is on, right? But Drew is different, which is why he's one of the more interesting folks on the roster now. And by the way, I'm going to put the lid on my pen now. I just clicked it. You can't hear it.
I heard some of that. It sounded like awful.
Well, Bronson Reed versus The Miz. Of course, we don't want to see the match, but at the end of the match, Bronson Reed won with a fucking splash. And then again, they do the angle. He's a madman. He goes for another one. R-Truth comes in and stops him. And he cross-bodied R-Truth. Truth is a brave son of a bitch. Flying cross-body off the top from Bronson Reed. Boom. And then he splashed Truth. And then he splashed him again. And then he splashed him again. Oh, Lord, he splashed him again. And then along came Joan. All right. About 3 splashes, and then they pull Truth away, and Adam Pearce is yelling at him. And then he went to the other corner and splashed Truth. And then he finally gets out of the ring, and he starts to leave, and all the officials are tending to Truth. And thankfully, the menace is leaving, and he runs back and does another splash off the top. This is great shit. This is wrestling. This is getting this giant fucking asshole Bronson Reed, who's literally throwing his weight around, over to people by having him flatten fucking people. It's not brain science or rocket surgery.
It's getting him over. It's also getting the Splash over.
Yes. And
where do you think they're going with him and Pierce? Because it wasn't just Pierce as the general manager getting mad. It seemed like, they were face to face it seemed like they were leading to something. Do you think they're going anywhere with that?
Well, no, I don't think they're going to book Adam to wrestle, but Adam is being, Nick Aldis is a different type of general manager because, as we mentioned, he's I don't really care what happens as long as my brand, he's the cutthroat businessman type. As long as my brand is getting over, see, I do the accent. Whereas Adam is trying and does take the more babyface, exasperated fucking official approach, and is good at that because that's more to his personality. I've seen Adam's work as when he's a booker and when these guys would come to him with bullshit for real, and he's doing an excellent job of doing the same thing he does on camera that he does in the locker room. But I don't think they're going to book him. But they want Bronson Reed to be an edgy, against every out of control fucking person. So they're going to try to pit him against the authority figure on the show. That's my take on it. But in the meantime, they're letting him flatten all these fuckers, and that's great.
Is he going to flatten Pierce?
I don't know whether they need to go that far, or at least right now. But at some point, who knows if Adam was tending to one of these people and he came back for one more splash and Adam just happened to get in the way? Like the Freebird's hair cream was an accident too, right? And now Pierce is sitting there listening to the show going, God damn it, I don't want to take his motherfucking splash.
Looks like Pierce already had some of the Freebird's hair cream.
Well, see, so nothing can hurt him now.
That's right.
And then we were all ready to the main event of Raw, which was Sami Zayn and fucking Bronson Reed for the Intercontinental title, 2 out of 3 falls.
No, not Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker.
Or Jesus, I wrote Braun, and I'm still talking about Bronson Reed. Let me try that again. For the Intercontinental title, 2 out of 3 falls, Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker. And see, there's another sign that Vince is gone. Would there be Bronson and Braun? Braun Breaker might have to be a backbreaker, which kind of would be better than Braun Breaker, wouldn't it? Boy, you're a real ball breaker.
Anything would be better than Braun Breaker or this review.
Well, nevertheless, I wanted to acknowledge that they had a good main event and it wasn't too long and it was 2 out of 3 falls, so they fucking traded. Sammy won the first one with the kick out of nowhere. And then Braun evened it in the second fall with a couple of spears. And then the finish was Sammy coming off the top and Braun just spearing him right in the air, 1, 2, 3. That was the way that they did it, but there were a couple of big moments when Braun caught him on a moonsault off the railing and lawn darted him into the announcer pit. Did you see the bump that Sami Zayn? He didn't take the bump, he was given the bump.
He was thrown, yeah.
But Jesus Christ, that was a little. He went like 6 or 8 feet past Braun and into that. I know the wall was padded, but he was also going head first. And then Braun again hit that Breakensteiner, as they're calling it now. And also that clothesline over the announce desk that he does. So in the course of a 15-minute main event, you got 2 out of 3 falls. They kept it moving, but they had like 3 really big spots to spread that out. And finally, again, Braun wins to make sure that everybody knows that this guy is now in the upper echelon of the company. He beat Sammy on pay-per-view. Now he beats him on national television. 2 out of 3 falls without resorting to a bazooka. And that doesn't mean that the people are going to like Sami Zayn any less than they do right now. But they're going to take Braun Breaker more seriously than they may have up till this point. That's called booking.
Well, that was called Raw, another episode of WWE Raw.
But they're pissing me off because there's more good stuff now that I actually kind of want to pay attention to. I'm not used to this encroachment on my personal time that they haven't done this in a long time, where they really wanted to make a lot of this program good.
Raw's been good enough lately that you'd want to call somebody.
Well, if you do want to call somebody, you know who you ought to call? You ought to call our friends at Mobile Mint. Folks, I'll tell you what.
Mint Mobile.
Well, they've got a new branch. What they're doing is they've got a truck, and they've outfitted it with all the plates and the engraving and the presses and the precious metals, and they're driving it around, and they're minting you money for 50 cents on the dollar. You give them 50 cents, they will mint you.
They are not doing
a silver dollar. It's called the Mobile Mint.
It has nothing to do with Mint Mobile. So
well, they try to keep the overhead low. It's a new division of Mint, but of course the main business over at Mint Mobile, see, not to be confused with Mobile Mint, only a fool would confuse a truck that goes around minting money with a fucking cell phone plan. That's just ridiculous.
How the hell does that work? They go around minting money.
Well, see, they keep the overhead low because they don't have to rent a brick and mortar place.
No, They've
just got the stuff in the back of the truck.
So how are they in the back of the truck? They're minting money?
Yes, they'll for 50 cents, they'll make you a brand new silver dollar.
How are they doing this?
Well, they're doing it with the press in the back on the plates that they've had engraved, and they melt the silver, and boom, and there you go.
All in the van or truck.
All in the van. That's why they come to you.
Once again, this has nothing to do with Mint Mobile, although it is fascinating in many ways.
But Mint Mobile is the main business. That's what's financing this foray that they're making into. Everybody's got to diversify.
Not in this case. This is not in any way. Again, we should be talking about the wonderful service you get from Mint Mobile, but Mobile Mint has no association with Mint Mobile, period, exclamation point.
No, not until
spacebar.
Not until they're listed on the Dow Jones together when they do the big IPO. But nevertheless, the folks at Mint Mobile, they're making this money so that they can finance the startup costs of the Mobile Mint. And the way Mint Mobile is doing it is they are offering premium wireless plans for only $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. That means that you pretty much have to give these people your money, or elsewise you're just throwing it out the window. Because everybody else charges more than that. Brian, some people, some of these people, these big companies, these big tech giants, these goddamn overlords, these people that think that they've got the rest of us under their thumbs where they can just extort and yank out as much money out of our wallets as they want to every month. They're charging a lot more than $15 a month, aren't they?
Yes. A whole lot more. So much more, it goes around and comes all the way back up behind you again. Well, Mint Mobile is here to rescue you and your squad. So, folks, if you're in the Reserve National Guard on the weekends and you have a squad or a squadron or whatever, that's what the young folks say, right? They have a squad. And so what about if you have your posse? Your posse? It used to be, hey, you and your fucking pals over there. I don't think posse's used anymore either.
Well, that's squad now. They are here to rescue you and your squad with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month on the nation's largest 5G network. So that's a network of 5Gs all across the country. And you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan. Bring your own phone number. Bring other people's phone numbers. Join the party. Get a party line.
Bring your own phone number.
Do you know my Aunt Lola had a party line when I was 10 years old in 1971? She still had a party line.
What?
And yes, and it was it Ms. Peel that was on her? I'm trying to think. It's been so long ago. I was a young boy. But if the old party line where it was less expensive for your phone bill per month if you had somebody else on the line, but when you picked up the phone, if they were on it, you could hear them talking. You could hear their conversation both ways, and you had to either put the phone back down or ask them, "Pardon me, Ms. Peel, but could I make a call?" And then you might have an argument because they were there first.
How much cheaper was it that people did that?
It was like $5 or $6 a month cheaper, I believe. But now this was 50 years ago.
Right, right. But still, that seems like
Yes.
such an inconvenience.
Well, it certainly was, but that's the way things were done back in them days. But Aunt Lola had a party line, but you won't need to have one. But you can if you want to. Bring everybody. Just have everybody bring their phones and put them in a big circle in the middle of the room and write everybody's phone number down and throw it in there and then pick out the phone numbers, and that's the person who gets the phone or the hotel key. You can do anything with these plans from Mint Mobile. You can get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. I'll guarantee you that. And to get this brand new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, you go to mintmobile.com/JCE, and that's what you do. Now, you got to pay them $45 for the 3-month plan at $15 a month. That's simple mathematics. But that's all you have to do, and you will cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/JCE. And as for the special party line plan, $750. But you might have to sometimes listen to other people's conversations.
I'm looking right here at the copy. There's nothing about party line plan, nothing about hotel room keys, and certainly nothing about mobile minting. But if you need good mobile services, Mint Mobile is there for you. One more time, what's that promo code? What's that website, Jim?
Well, mintmobile.com/JCE, the $45 upfront payment, or you can pray that they'll give you this plan. The $45 upfront payment is required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on the first 3-month plan only, and speeds may be slower above 40 GB on the unlimited plan, but once you get that high, what the hell? Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply, but you can see Mint Mobile for all the details on this whole thing. And coming soon to your neighborhood, the Mobile Mint.
Which will have no association with Mint Mobile, but you can have an association with them right now. One more time, mintmobile.com/JCE.
/JCE. And then the Mobile Mint is their tagline is going to be save cents on dollars.
Once again, we're talking about Mint Mobile, our friends, and they could be yours. Try them today. mintmobile.com/JCE.
Try them, and what happens if they don't become your friend? Are you going to cast them aside like an old shoe?
Let's talk about good things and good services like Mint Mobile's. They will be there for you like a trusty shoe. Once again, what's that promo code one last time, Jim?
Yes, /JCE at mintmobile.com. Every trusty shoe I've ever known smelled like somebody's old sweaty foot.